Welcome back to Reformed Thinking. Today, we're going to do something that might feel a little strange at first.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to stop the clock on all the big, flashy miracles.
No.
We're not looking at the Red Sea parting or, fire coming down from the sky.
Okay.
We're going to zoom in, microscopically close on a real estate transaction.
It sounds a little dry when you put it that way.
It does. It really does. It sounds like we're about to read a deed at the county clerk's office. But that's the trick. We are opening up Genesis chapter 23. And on the surface, yes, it is a negotiation over a plot of dirt and a dark cave.
But underneath that,
this is one of the most high-stakes, emotionally charged moments in the entire Old Testament.
it's a chapter that really sits in the shadow of death. It's dusty, it's heavy, and it is incredibly human.
So to set the stage for everyone listening, we need to visualize the man at the center of this.
Yeah.
We aren't seeing the young, fiery Abraham who just marched out of Ur of the Chaldeans. We aren't even seeing the warrior Abraham who chased down kings to rescue Lot.
No, we are looking at a man who is 137 years old.
He's a giant of the faith, but right now, he is crushed.
Just broken.
He's covered in the dust of the road, and he is standing at the feet of his wife, Sarah, who has just died.
That's the scene. Genesis 23 opens with the death of Sarah, and immediately there's a massive tension hanging over the text.
Attention. How so?
The sources we pulled together for this deep dive call it the crisis of the empty hand.
The crisis of the empty hand. I like that phrase, but let's unpack it. Because on one hand, we have the promise. With a capital P,
Big one.
God told Abraham 60 years ago, I am going to give you all this land, you and your offspring. He's been walking around Canaan for decades with that promise just ringing in his ears.
Right. Decades of walking, setting up altars, digging wells, calling on the name of the Lord. He has the divine title deed in a spiritual sense.
But here's the crisis. Sarah is dead at the age of 127. She dies in Kiriakba, which we know as Hebron. So she is physically in the promised land. She's in the right geography.
But the problem is legal ownership.
You hit the nail on the head.
No.
Abraham owns absolutely nothing.
Not a single square inch.
Nothing.
God said, this is all yours. But if you went to the local Hittite courthouse in Hebron at that moment, Abraham is homeless. He's a squatter,
Yeah.
a nomad.
And now he has a body to bury, the body of his beloved wife, and he has literally nowhere to put her.
That is a collision. You have the promise of God crashing right into the hard reality of death and displacement.
And that's really our mission for this deep dive. We want to see how Abraham handles that collision.
How he lives in that gap.
How does a believer act when they have the title deed in heaven, so to speak, but they do not have the possession on earth?
And we are looking at this through the lens of Reformed theology, specifically this concept of the already and the not yet.
Right.
How do we live in that gap? Because Abraham is living right in the middle of the not yet.
So let's start with the text itself, Genesis 23, verses 1 and 2. It opens with this very specific biographical note. Sarah lived 127 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah. Now, in our modern world, that reads like the opening line of an obituary. Standard procedure.
It sounds standard, but in the context of the ancient world and the biblical canon, it's radical.
Radical, how so?
Sarah is the only woman in the entire biblical canon, the whole Bible, Old and New Testament, whose age at death is explicitly recorded like this.
Wait, really? I never realized that. We know how old Methuselah was, we know how old Abraham was, Moses, but no other women.
She stands alone in that regard. Not Eve, not Rachel, not Mary, just Sarah.
Wow.
It is the Holy Spirit's way of honoring her specific status. She isn't just Abraham's wife or a side character in his story.
No, she's more than that.
She is the matriarch of the covenant.
She is a co-participant in the promise.
Precisely. She is the woman whose body was the miraculous vessel for the seed of promise, Isaac.
Right. The impossible child.
Her physical body was the instrument God used to launch the redemption of the world. So recording her years, bookending her life with this dignity, is a way of saying her life mattered immensely to the plan of redemption.
And then it says she died in Kiriath Arba in the land of Canaan. We touched on this, but I want to drill down on the geography. Why is that specific location, Hebron, essentially so pivotal to the crisis?
Because geography is theology in Genesis. It just is. If Sarah had died back in Ur or in Haran or even in Egypt, it would just be a tragedy, a personal loss.
But dying in Canaan.
But dying in Canaan without owning land highlights the strangeness of their faith. Think about the options Abraham has.
Well, the cultural norm would be to take her home, right? back to the ancestral tomb.
Correct. In the ancient Near East, you are gathered to your fathers. It's the standard practice.
So if Abraham takes her body back to Ur to bury her in his father Terah's tomb, what's he saying?
He's effectively declaring the promise of Canaan void. He is saying, we gave up, we tried this promised land thing, it didn't work out, so we're going back to where we came from.
Going back is an admission of defeat. It is on faith.
Yes. But look at option 2. If he simply buries her in a local Canaanite grave, just finds a nice spot in the woods or borrows a tomb from a neighbor, he risks something else.
What's the risk there?
He risks blending in. Assimilation. If you bury your dead in the communal graves of the Hittites, you're signaling that you're becoming a Hittite.
You're disappearing.
You are disappearing into the pagan culture. Your identity is being absorbed.
So he's stuck. He can't go back because that denies the promise. He can't just blend in because that dilutes the holy seed.
He is in the right place, but he has no legal right to be there.
And that pressure cooker is where we find him in verse 2. Abraham went in to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. I want to pause on that emotion because the text doesn't just say he was sad. It says he went in to mourn and weep.
The Hebrew word there is livkot. And the sources point out this is not a polite single tear rolling down the cheek.
No.
This is a wailing. It is a visceral, loud, public outpouring of agony. This is gut-wrenching grief.
It's interesting you highlight that because I feel like there's a misconception that often creeps into the church.
No, for sure.
You hear it in funeral parlors sometimes. People think that if you have enough faith, you shouldn't cry. Or at least you shouldn't cry too much.
Right. She's in a better place, so celebrate.
Yeah, the stiff upper lip Christianity. Or this sort of stoic idea that emotions are a weakness.
Or even the prosperity gospel triumphalism that refuses to acknowledge pain because it looks like a negative confession. Abraham just destroys those errors. Look at him. He's the father of the faithful. He trusted God more than any of us do. He was willing to sacrifice Isaac.
He's the model of faith.
And yet here he is, absolutely wrecked.
So the tears are not a lack of faith.
Not at all. The tears are actually a form of biblical realism. See, death is an intrusion. It's an enemy. 1 Corinthians 15 calls it the last enemy.
It's not natural.
It's not the way things were supposed to be in the garden. So when Abraham weeps, he is validating the reality that the world is broken. He's protesting it, in a way.
That's a really helpful distinction. Faith doesn't mean emotional numbness. It means you grieve with hope, but you still grieve.
You have to feel the cut. If you don't feel the cut, you don't understand the curse. And if you don't understand the curse, you cannot appreciate the cure.
That's a relief, honestly. It's okay to be shattered by loss.
It's biblical.
But then there is this shift. Verse 3, I love how the text puts it. And Abraham rose up from before his dead.
That's the pivot point of the chapter. There is a time to weep and there is a time to act.
The grief doesn't paralyze him forever.
He moves from the paralysis of grief to the duty of the living. He realizes, I have a problem to solve, I have a body, and I need a grave.
So he goes to the city gate. And this is where the drama really starts. He's talking to the sons of Heth, the Hittites who run the town. And he makes this confession in verse 4. He says, I am a sojourner and stranger among you.
We have to feel the weight of that statement. In Hebrew, it's derfshav. It is a legal classification.
Okay, what do those words mean? Jur.
A jur is a resident alien. It's someone who lives there but has no legal rights, no ancestral standing. Think of a refugee or someone on a temporary visa. You're there, but you don't belong.
And a tushev.
A tushev is a settler, someone just passing through, a squatter. He's basically saying, I'm a legally unprotected person just camping out here.
It's almost a paradox, isn't it?
How so?
Because God told him, you are the father of nations. You own this land from the river to the sea. But here he is, introducing himself as a nobody. Hi, I'm Abraham. I'm a stranger here.
That is the identity paradox of the believer. By divine decree, he's the landlord. He owns the whole thing.
But by human reckoning.
But by human reckoning, by the city records of Hebron, he is homeless.
This reminds me of that passage in Hebrews 11.
Yes, the New Testament commentary on this exact moment. It says the patriarchs acknowledged that they were strangers and exiles on the earth.
So this isn't just a negotiating tactic. This is his actual identity.
Abraham is publicly identifying himself as an outsider. He's not trying to fake it. He's not walking in saying, do you not know who I am? I am God's chosen one.
He is humble. He's saying, I don't belong to your city. My citizenship is elsewhere.
But because he is an outsider, he has to ask for permission. He can't just take land.
Right. He can't just go out and dig a grave.
No. So he asks for a possession of a burying place. And the sources highlight that word possession. A chusa.
Chusa. That sounds heavy.
It is. He doesn't just want a loan. He doesn't want to rent a tomb. He wants an achusa, a permanent legal holding.
A title deed.
He wants a title deed. He is looking for a foothold in the land that God promised him.
And this leads us into the negotiation, which I found absolutely fascinating.
It's brilliant.
Because on the surface, the Hittites seem incredibly nice. They say, "Hear us, my lord. You are a prince of God among us. Bury your dead in the trace of our sepulchres."
It sounds lovely, doesn't it? You're a prince of God. Nasi Elohim.
They respect him.
They do. Remember, Abraham is wealthy. He has a private army. He defeated the 4 kings back in Genesis 14. They want to be on his good side. But this offer, bury your dead in our choice tombs, is actually a massive trap.
A trap? How is generosity a trap?
Think about what it implies. If Abraham put Sarah in a communal Hittite grave, he's accepting a spot as a guest.
Okay.
He has no legal right to it. It is permission, not ownership. And permission can be revoked.
Right. The next generation of Hittites could say, "We don't like you anymore, take your bones and leave."
Correct. But even more dangerous is the assimilation aspect we talked about. If your ancestors are buried in our grave, then you are essentially part of our clan. Your distinctiveness as the covenant people begins to dissolve. You just blend into the Hittite population.
Ah, I see. It is the melting pot strategy. If he accepts their grave, he accepts their identity.
Abraham realizes that accepting a free grave is the first step to losing his distinctiveness. He refuses to blend the holy seed with the pagan world.
So he counters them.
He counters them. He identifies a specific spot. He says, no, I want the Cave of Machpelah.
And he says he wants to pay full price.
Kisef male, full silver. He is very specific. He wants to pay full market value.
No discounts, no favors.
He wants an incontrovertible receipt. He doesn't want a favor. He wants a contract.
And then we meet the antagonists of the story, or at least the shrewd businessman, Ephron the Hittite.
Yeah, Ephron steps up.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because Ephron steps up and says, "No, my lord, hear me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it." He says, "I give it 3 times.
It sounds like he's being even more generous than the others. Abraham asks for the cave, and Ephron says, take the whole field. It's a gift. But this is where we have to understand the ancient Near East. This is not generosity. This is a classic negotiation tactic, and potentially something much stickier legally.
The sources mention the Hittite law code here, section 46.
Yes. This is a brilliant piece of historical context that sheds light on what Ephron is actually doing. Under Hittite law, there were feudal obligations attached to land ownership. They called it ilku.
Ilku, what does that involve?
It's a service requirement to the king. It could be military service, providing labor for building projects, or paying heavy taxes. It was a burden attached to the land itself.
Okay, so land comes with strings attached. Big strings.
Right. Now, the law stated that if you buy only a part of a property, like just the cave at the end of the field, the original owner still holds the ilku obligation.
So Ephron would still have to pay the taxes.
The seller still has to pay the taxes and do the service because they still own the main field.
Okay.
But you buy the whole field, the feudal service duty transfers to the buyer.
Oh, wow. So Ephron is trying to dump his tax burden on Abraham.
It is very likely. Abraham asked for just the cave. Ephron says, no, take the field too. By forcing Abraham to take the whole field, he is maneuvering Abraham into the Hittite feudal system.
He's making him a citizen, in a way.
He is effectively trying to make Abraham a vassal of the city. Here, take the field, and the taxes, and the military duty that comes with it.
That is sneaky. So I'll give it to you. Really means I'm going to leverage social pressure to make you take this liability off my hands.
Yes. And notice, a gift in that culture creates a massive social debt. If I give you a field, you owe me forever. You are in my pocket.
And Abraham sees right through it.
He's wise. He ignores the gift rhetoric completely. He ignores the feudal implication. He just focuses on the money. He wants to keep it strictly business.
He cuts through the noise.
He does. And then Ephron drops the mask. In verse 15, he casually says, a piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me?
What is that between friends?
Yeah.
Just a small matter of 400 shekels.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to a modern ear, 400 shekels doesn't mean much. Is that a lot? Is that a little?
It is an astronomical sum.
Put it in perspective for us.
Okay, let's look at some comparisons. Later in the Bible, the prophet Jeremiah buys a field. Do you know how much he pays?
I remember it being low.
17 shekels.
17 versus 400.
Right. Or look at King David. When David buys the threshing floor of Araunah, which becomes the site of the temple, prime real estate in Jerusalem, he pays 50 shekels.
So Ephron is asking for 8 times what David paid for the Temple Mount.
Even allowing for inflation or different land sizes, this is price gouging. It's an extortionate price.
He's taking advantage of him.
He is exploiting a grieving widower who is desperate to bury his wife. He knows Abraham has nowhere else to go.
It is predatory. It's kicking a man when he's down. So the natural question is, does Abraham haggle? Does he say, that's outrageous, I'll give you 200?
No. And this is the integrity of the man. Verse 16 says, Abraham weighed out for Ephron the silver, current money with the merchant.
Which he pays it immediately.
He pays it immediately. He doesn't fight. He doesn't argue.
Why not? If he's being ripped off, why not push back? He's a smart guy.
Because Abraham values the validity of the claim more than the value of the coin. Think about it.
Okay.
If he haggles, Ephron could come back later and say, I did you a favor. I gave you a discount. That leaves a string attached.
It leaves a social debt. He'd owe him one.
Exactly. By paying the full, inflated, ridiculous price, Abraham shuts the mouth of every future accuser. No one can ever say he stole that land or that he owes the Hittites anything.
It's a clean break.
He bought it, fair and square, at their price. The deal is unimpeachable.
He secures the land with total integrity. The sources call this the third use of the law, using the moral law to guide the believer's conduct.
Yes, he's acting in a way that the world has no leverage over him. He is paying current money so that his witness is spotless. He's not trying to cheat the system, even when the system is trying to cheat him.
And then we get this very legal-sounding section in verses 17 and 18. It lists the trees, the borders, the field. It reads like a modern contract.
It does. The field of Ephron in Machpelah, which was to the east of Mamre, the field with the cave that was in it, and all the trees that were in the field.
Why the detail about the trees?
It's a contract.
Yeah.
In the ancient world, you listed the trees to prevent the seller from coming back and chopping them down for lumber after the sale. It's ensuring the asset is not stripped.
It's like checking the mineral rights today.
A very similar idea. But there's a beautiful phrase in the Hebrew there that you might miss in English. It says, the land stood up. Vayakom.
The land stood up.
Most translations say was made over or deeded, but the literal Hebrew is stood up. It's a personification.
Like the land is coming alive.
Yes. Until this moment, that land was lying dormant under pagan rule. It was just dirt. Now it rises up to take its stand with the covenant people. It moves from being just geography to being a part of God's redemptive history.
That is powerful. It's like the land itself knows its new master.
Uh-huh.
So Abraham has paid a fortune. He has his deed. He has the cave.
He's done it.
But we have to ask the big theological question here. Why a cave?
Right. Why spend a fortune on a hole in the ground?
He could have done a burial at sea or cremation. Why was burial so non-negotiable?
This brings us to the core of biblical anthropology. Abraham rejects the pagan view. He rejects what we would later call Gnosticism, the idea that the body is just a prison or a shell that you discard.
The meat suit idea, that the real you is just a spirit and the body is trash.
Abraham says no. The Westminster Confession talks about this in chapter 32. It says the bodies of men return to dust, but are destined for redemption.
The body matters.
Abraham believes that Sarah's body matters. It's not waste, it's holy.
The source used the image of sowing.
Yes, burial is an act of agriculture. You plant a seed. Abraham is planting Sarah's body in the soil of the promised land.
And he expects a harvest.
He expects a harvest. It's a radical act of faith in the physical resurrection. He is saying she is not gone forever. She is waiting.
So by burying her in Canaan, he is making a statement about the future.
He is establishing a beachhead. Think about it. The only piece of the promised land that Abraham ever actually owned was a cemetery.
That is the irony. All that promise, I will give you this land, and all he got was a grave.
But to the eye of faith, that grave is a down payment. It is earnest money.
The deposit.
It's a deposit on the whole inheritance.
Yeah.
He is planting a flag in enemy territory and saying, we are not leaving. Even in death, we are staying here.
It is a claim on the future. We will be back.
Yes, and this sets a pattern for the whole rest of the Bible. We call it the canonical trajectory.
Right, because it's not just Sarah. Who else ends up in that cave?
Everyone. Abraham dies, he goes into Machpelah. Isaac dies, he goes in. Rebecca, Jacob, Leah. They all end up in that one cave.
It becomes the family crypt, the one piece of home they have.
And think about the Israelites hundreds of years later. They are slaves in Egypt. They are making bricks without straw. But they know something.
What do they know?
They know that back in Canaan, in a cave in Hebron, their fathers and mothers are waiting. It's a silent witness. It's a homing beacon. It's telling them, Egypt is not your home. Your bones belong in the promise.
And Joseph. Remember Joseph? At the end of Genesis, he makes them swear an oath.
Mm-hmm.
Do not leave my bones in Egypt.
Carry my bones up from here.
Yeah.
Why? Because he knew the resurrection wasn't happening in Egypt. It was happening in the land. He refused to be separated from the promise. He wanted to be where the action was going to be when God acted.
So this cave is the anchor. It holds the whole story together into the Exodus. But there's a contrast we need to make. We're Christians, so we look at this through the lens of Christ.
Yes.
How does Machpelah compare to the tomb of Jesus?
This is the great contrast. Abraham paid a high price, 400 shekels, to secure a place to keep his dead in the grave.
His goal was containment.
He wanted to make sure they stayed there, undisturbed, safe,
Right.
safekeeping for the bodies.
So Christ?
Christ paid the infinite price. He didn't pay with silver or gold. He paid with his own blood.
And his goal was different.
And he didn't pay to keep his dead in the grave. He paid to bring his dead out of the grave.
That gives me chills.
Sarah is still there. If you go to Hebron today, to the Cave of the Patriarchs, her dust is still in Machpelah. She is awaiting the trumpet.
But Jesus' tomb,
It is empty.
he is not there.
And because his tomb is empty, Machpelah is not a monument to defeat. It is a sleeping chamber. It is a bedroom. They are just resting until the king wakes them up.
So the empty tomb of Jesus validates the faith of Abraham in the occupied tomb of Sarah.
That's it. That is the whole story.
That changes everything about how we view death. It's not the end. It's a pause.
So let's pivot to application. We've unpacked the history, the Hittite law, the theology. What does this mean for the listener, the learner driving to work right now?
I think there are 3 or 4 massive takeaways. The first takes us back to that negotiation, business ethics.
Yeah, the current money with the merchant. We live in a world of pragmatism. Get the best deal, cut corners if you have to. It's just business. Abraham challenges us to conduct business with total transparency.
It's interesting. I have seen people try to use their faith to get a discount.
Oh, all the time.
Hey, brother, can you knock a little off the price for a fellow believer? Or expecting a deal because they go to the same church?
And Abraham would say, absolutely not. Do not use your religious status to seek leverage. Pay the full price so that the world has nothing to say against you.
It's about your witness.
If you claim to belong to the kingdom of God, but you cheat your neighbor or delay payment, your witness is a lie.
That is conviction right there.
Yeah.
Our financial dealings are part of our testimony. What about this idea of the forever home? We live in a culture obsessed with real estate.
Oh, absolutely. This is the idol of security. We want the perfect house, the forever home, the white picket fence. We drive our stakes so deep into this world.
But Abraham
was a prince. He was richer than most of us will ever be. But he lived in a tent. He refused to build a house in Canaan.
The only permanent real estate he wanted was for the resurrection.
He held earthly possessions loosely. He understood he was a stranger. We need to ask ourselves, are we living for our property value or are we investing in the kingdom? Are we too comfortable here?
It's the difference between a tourist and a resident. You're supposed to be tourists here.
Yes. Ambassadors. We're here, we work here, we care for the city, but we do not belong to it. We should not be surprised when we feel out of place. We are out of place.
Another practical point the sources raised was prudence, preparing for death.
Yes. This is a sensitive one. Sometimes super spiritual people think, oh, God will provide. I don't need a will. I don't need a burial plot. I'll just trust Jesus.
And they leave a mess for their kids.
They leave a financial and emotional disaster. Abraham did not wait until the last second to scramble. He acted decisively. He secured the plot. He made sure everything was legal and binding.
So making a will is actually an act of faith.
It is an act of love for your family. Leaving your affairs in chaos is a burden on those you leave behind. Abraham treated death with dignity and order. That's a sign of maturity. It's stewardship.
And finally, hope and grief. We started with weeping and we end with hope.
We grieve, but not as those without hope. That is the key distinction. Paul says that in Thessalonians. We don't pretend it doesn't hurt. Abraham wept loudly.
But we view the grave differently.
We view it differently. It is not a prison with no exit. It is a bed of hope. We rest in God's promise.
It really is a complete reorientation of how we see the end of life.
Yeah.
Abraham buying that cave was the first legal foothold of the kingdom of God on earth.
Yeah.
It started with a grave.
It started with a grave and it ends with an empty tomb. That's the arc of redemption.
So here's the final thought for you to chew on. To the unbeliever, The grave is a prison. It is the final period at the end of the sentence.
There's no way out.
But to the believer, because of what Christ has done and what Abraham foresaw, the deed is signed in blood, and the Savior holds the keys. The question is, are you investing in castles in this world that you have to leave behind? Or are you staking your claim in the resurrection? Thanks for listening to Reformed Thinking. We'll see you in the next deep dive.